Okay. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great day today. Okay. Hey, James, Mr. Waifu. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Final Boss, Mizor. Amen, April, Zach. How you guys doing? Hey, Tactical. Hey, Ant and Drifter Kids. And Cody. Anowak and Bear and Raccoon. And, Void and, Kumo, Cam, Samuel, Capsu, Mark, GameCube Guy, Hot Morgan, Verglis, Raymond, Mason, hey, and Wild, Gunner Gaming. How's everyone doing? Okay. Hope everyone's having a great start to their weekend today. Tomorrow will be the final part of Metal Gear Solid 2, yep. Oh yeah, I'm excited for Hell Let Loose Vietnam, yep. Thank you, Tactical. Thanks for getting me back in Metal Gear Solid 2. I just finished the Tanker chapter. Had a lot of anxiety from the speech in the Semtex, you disable USP. Yeah, that, I couldn't believe how many of those control panels you had to shoot in that part. That was ridiculous. Thank you, Mr. Waifu, for, sponsoring my channel for over 4 years. Thanks, dude. A group project horror with your audience horror story? Well, what do you mean? D, can you explain a little more? Are we allowed to talk about Mafia the Old Country in chat? Potential spoilers? I don't know. Is it still too early? I mean, it came out on what, 2 weeks ago? I mean, when is usually like a safe time to like talk spoilers like for a game? Is it like you know, a month after the game comes out, or like what is like typically the appropriate time for that? I am gonna have a lore video this weekend on Mafia, the Old Country, though. That I'll have. Pro, turn the stream off right now. The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now. Don't worry, it's a stream. It's a stream like anything else. Yeah. That's the reference to the Colonel going crazy.
I'll just leave y'all to it.
You know what I thought was I thought the weirdest one was when he talked about, like, Raiden's wife cheating on him, or he talked about how he pays his wife divorce money. Like, that was just so weird and bizarre out of nowhere with the Colonel. Have I seen Full Metal Jacket? A long time ago, I did. Metal Gear Solid 2, dude. Yeah, I know. That game predicted a lot of things. It predicted censorship in the digital world, drones, AI... Oh yeah, I'll play Delta, yes. What's up, Titanium? Do you think Silvio was a good consigliere? Yes. Yes, he was. He knew when the right time to challenge Tony, too. Better get Tiger Stripe for the Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta videos. I'm working on that. That's pretty... I got something pretty good for that. Thank you, Mr. Waifu.
Thank you kindly.
Oh, okay, Brandon.
This one will keep me company for a little while.
Did I think Tino is the most evil consigliere in the Mafia series? Yes. Can I speak about Black Ops 7? Yeah, people are saying that it looks bad. I don't know. Maybe the only thing... Maybe the only thing I'm looking forward to is the story. I don't really care about the multiplayer at all. Here's a tip for Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. Metal Gear Solid 3 boss battles, you need to beat them with stamina health bar. You can get special camouflage. Beat them with the stamina health bar? What do you mean beat them with the stamina health bar? Thank you, Mark. Yeah, but I'm gonna have a really good lore video coming out on this weekend on Mafia: The Old Country. You excited for Hell Let Loose Vietnam? Yes. Yes, I am. I really hope they still add the factions they promised in Hell Let Loose, like Finland and Poland. I really hope they still add those factions. Aware of a disgusting Philadelphia Villanova hoax? So what? Oh, what do you mean, Pirate? Thank you for the super chat. Stamina health bar means beating bosses with tranq guns. Oh. Oh, okay. Hey, Pro, I had a really bad day today, so it turns out I had people talking smack behind my back, all because I had a bad day and suffered depression. I'm sorry to hear about that, Mark. Thank you for the super chat. I hope everything's okay with you. If you ever need anybody to talk to, you can always talk to me in a party. When did this happen, Pirate? Hey, Nero Gaming. Joining the Marines, my childhood tree nut allergies came up at MEPS. Now I need an allergist waiver to move forward. I feel so stuck right now, but I gotta keep moving forward. Oh. I hope everything goes good for you, Jordan, and I hope you're able to get through that. Oh, okay, Pirate. Maybe in a way, Johnny. My eyes hurt when playing a game at 30 FPS. Not really. My eyes will hurt if I keep playing non-stop for hours, but... Who Pirate? Cobra Joe's? Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2, where, Brandon, when is your sale gonna be ready? Metal Gear Solid 3 and Delta, during one of the boss fights, if you sneak up behind the end, you can get the Moss Camo from him. Oh. What's better, Medal of Honor PS1 or GoldenEye? I've never played GoldenEye, but Medal of Honor I've played. Great games. Pro, is there one psychopath in the Mafia series? The best depiction of a psychopath in the Mafia series, maybe the closest to it would be Torisi, because he didn't even... I don't think he even loved his daughter. A psychopath has no empathy for anyone. What movies that I saw in theaters in 2006? I didn't really go to the movies, really, very little. When I was a kid, I went to the movies. Don Teresi, I loved Enzo like a son-in-law. Oh, man. Oh yeah, I would agree with that, Wild Gunner. What's better, Godfather to Sopranos? Well, I don't think you can really compare them because Godfather is a movie, Sopranos is a TV series. Who do you think is the most honorable mob boss in the Mafia games? Frank Vinci. Wait, Pirate, can you post your question again? I'm sorry, there's a lot of people that are posting. Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, the end boss battle. If you beat with stamina kill, you get the end most in the Gaunt Tranquilizer Rifle. So I have to beat him with darts? Is that what you're saying? Well, I don't think that Luca would have ever allowed Sam to go into the Mafia if he was yeah, if he was around with Sam. I don't think he would have. You get by using the tranquilizer gun. Okay. What's a game I desperately want to be remade or remastered? Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. Yes. That would be so much fun. Okay, Brandon. The question was that retail reaction to comments and current events regarding the Ireland attack. I'm gonna do a video on another retail part. I'll do it. As for the Ireland thing, when did the event happen? As usually I like to cover crazy current events within the same week. If it, oh, I think I remember what you're talking about. It's like some it's that really gruesome thing, right? I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Usually I don't like covering, like, you know, very, like, you know, bad situations like that. Usually it's something that is like, you know, the law that I was talking about, or something like ridiculous but kind of funny in a way, like with the CEO cheating on his wife, that story. Like, usually stories that involve, like, you know, serious violence, I don't tend to, like, cover those. Can I do a Red Dead Revolver playthrough? Yeah, I'll do that one day. I'm gonna play Mercenaries 2, yes. How can a villain be much worse than Dimitri or Micah? Look at Victor Bronco in Max Payne 3. That's a perfect example. Victor Bronco's even worse than Dimitri. I think Enzo's child is Lincoln's dad, or Lincoln can be part of the Teresi bloodline because him and Don Teresi are kind of alike, so Isabella could have met someone else and had another kid. Thank you, Tommy Angelo Jr. Some people think that Enzo's son is Eddie Scarpa in Mafia 2 because he was born in the same year. Why do I think the Old Country tops Mafia 1 and 2 exactly? I guess the different setting. It's not in America. And it shows you just how different the Sicilian Mafia is from the American Mafia, and shows you the brutality of the Sicilian Mafia. The boss battles were fun. The story was pretty good. Bro, as someone in the UK, is this online act going to affect me and my progress on my YouTube channel? It's... If you haven't been asked for an ID, you know, to log into YouTube, you might not yet. But certain videos you watch, it might require an ID for you to log in. What tax forms would YouTube users use to file taxes? Oh man, I don't even remember the name of it at the top of my head right now. My accountant just does everything for me. So I just show my accountant the income, and my accountant just basically takes care of everything for me. I absolutely hate paperwork. I just hate paperwork and bureaucracy, and
You can't be back there. Move! You ain't supposed to be here.
Good Lord.
damn, I forgot how long this gun takes to load.
You cut me loose. No good son of a...
No, I believe you, Vertigo.
Christ's sake! Anyone, help!
Yes, I was joking, Mark.
I'm
He
tired.
wasn't being serious. I'm gonna start investing. Any advice?
Oh my God! Help me!
The thing is, though, is that for me personally, when it comes to things like investing, I haven't like done the stock market in like half a year at this point now. I've taken a big break from it. I made a good amount of money from the stock market this year, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take a break from it and not touch it anymore. But I typically when it comes to investing, I think that the safest thing that you can do is get a CD. And what a CD basically is, it's you go to your bank, and you let the bank have like a certain amount of money, and the bank will basically give you 4% of that money back in like a specific amount of time. Usually it's like a year. So basically like they'll give you like 4% back within a year of that money. So if you give the bank, like, you know, $10,000 for example, they will give you back $400 in a year. Well, that will be 4% of that, about. And they are the safest investment that you can do because there is no risk regarding them, because they are FDIC insured up to $250,000. So basically, the bank just has to pay you back your money. But the reason a lot of people don't do them is because the return on them is so little, you know, compared to like stocks and other, you know, investment. But the other investments, they're risk. And so that's basically what I'll say about that. What's up, Sagesta? Am I doing a playthrough of Star Wars Republic Commando? One day I'll do it. Yeah. Red Dead Online deserved better. Yes, it did. It did, Unknown Notion. Thank you for the super chat. I still can't believe this game was abandoned exactly 4 years ago. You know, July 2021 too. Thank you, Unknown Notion, for the super chat. Oh, you made a super chat. I'm sorry. Tomorrow's showing Jordan Reuter Walmart video pad. Wait, what's that one, Vertigo? Can I ask you on that one? Thank you for the super chat. It's just people telling me to watch a lot of these videos. I was trying to remember all of them. What remind me what that one is again? I think the old country is going to be linked to Mafia 4. I think it is. Do I ever get disconnected from Reddit online lobbies? I haven't in some time, no.
Don't do this.
I'll make you suffer.
Oh, yes, it is April. Continuation of retail horror stories. But I think you'll relate to this video. Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna do that retail video, reacting to your comments, guys, later this month or very early in September. Yeah, I'll play Metal Gear Solid Delta on release. Yeah. Okay, Brandon, when is your trader ready already? Ready, Brandon? Do I still get recognized? No, I haven't gotten recognized in some time. I don't really care for stuff like that, like recognition in public and stuff. Like, to me, I'd rather actually keep my privacy. I'm not big on stuff like that. Oh yeah, Pro, in the UK, I've already submitted my ID. I'm referring to the YouTube videos I make on GTA,
And this is for you.
on GTA, like, for example, I want to do a playthrough of universes before GTA 6 will affect them. Yeah, that's, I don't know if anything else is gonna happen, but it's ridiculous what the, it's ridiculous what the UK government is requiring people to do. Have I seen a show called Justified about a U.S. Marshal being transferred to Kentucky after an incident in Miami where he faces criminals like hillbilly gangsters and the Dixie Mafia? Justified. I think I've heard of that movie or TV show before. Isn't Timothy Olyphant in that one the same guy who played as Hitman or Agent 47? Isn't he in that one? Correct me. Is that the one that I'm thinking of? What game will you be playing next? Mafia 1 or Mafia 2? Well, we played Mafia 1 already. We're gonna do Mafia 2 next. 99 out of 100. Okay, Brandon, invite me to your posse then. My favorite spaghetti western? Haven't had spaghetti in a very long time. Yes, it is him in Justified, it is. Okay, I know the show, I haven't ever watched it, though. Spaghetti Western, he meant a Wild West movie. Oh, that... I was confused what he meant by spaghetti. How much more betrayal can Pro take? That's, reference to The Sopranos. Are all the Red Dead 3 things I've seen on YouTube fake? Yeah, probably. I don't think Rockstar has even started developing Red Dead 3. Mafia 2 will do next, and then Mafia 3 afterwards. Turn the game console off right now, the mission is a failure. Yeah, Colonel says that. You know, I remember when I was a kid and the Colonel just started saying all those things and I just freaked out and it just got really creepy. Sure, Phoenix, let me look. Someone got arrested for an anime pictures on their phone going to New York convention. He didn't do anything illegal. What? Wait, where did this happen? Europe? What was the charge exactly? He had anime pictures on his phone? I don't understand, like... When did this happen, Phoenix? And what country was this in? Also, Walton Goggins, who plays the ghoul in Fallout, is also unjustified. Yeah, that part I do know. He plays as like a prisoner in that one, if I remember correctly. But I'll watch that one when I get the chance. I did finish watching one TV show recently. It was only 2 seasons, so I finally got around to watching one. But I watched Tulsa King. If anybody knows that one, Tulsa King was decent. There aren't a lot of TV shows that I usually like watching, but Tulsa King had a lot of, you know, actors that I liked, and also had a few Sopranos actors too. So it was yeah. I never watched Sons of Anarchy. I know it's a biker show, but I'll watch it one day. But I have never watched it, no. Did you know that the race in Mafia the Old Country is based on a real-life Sicilian race known as Targa Florio, and the knife fights in the Old Country is based on Paranza Corda, a real-life Sicilian martial arts. Oh. Well, that I did not know. Tulsa King Season 2 any good? Yeah. I don't know if I like the ending to Tulsa Season 2, the ending to it. But I did generally like Season 2 of Tulsa King. I'm gonna do a retail video, D. I'll do that one. I'll do the video reacting to my, viewers' comments. What villain would I say is the most respectable? A respectable villain I can think of? I don't know, I'd have to think about that one. Remember, keep your eyes on the road and off Misty. That's what Luigi says in GTA 3. Imagine being level 8,000. People who've played since day one aren't even at that level. Level 8,000 is impossible in my eyes. Yep. It is. I don't know how anybody could get to level 8,000. I don't think there's one legitimate 8,000 in the world. If somebody's like level 4,000, I'll believe that at least. But if they're like level 8,000, no, I'm not gonna believe that. Thank you, Unknown Notion. Can you do a current event story for streamer abusing his dog? Oh my god, where did this happen? Oh my god, it's horrible. Where did did he get arrested? Where did this happen? The last time I played Fallout New Vegas, oh, years ago, years. Been some time. Yeah, he was, Michael. Colonel was very creepy, Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh, great. Trying to play with free aim on this. Yeah. Hitting things like the coyotes is... Okay, there we go. Are wolf attacks accurate in this game? I don't know really much about how wolves attack, but coyotes I know can attack people. Wolves can too, but I don't know how, how common it is. Oh my god, this is... Yeah, and also you can't lock on to the legendary animals. You can't fully lock onto them, maybe for just like a second, so it is... Oh my god. Coyotes don't attack, they keep their distance. Oh, well, But I don't know much about wildlife. Oh my god. Okay, hit it again, but it's... rocks and all the stuff that's in the way. So close. I'm about to run out of ammo, too. If I run out of ammo, I'm gonna have to kill it. Coyotes will go after pets. Yeah, they'll go after smaller animals, I know that. Oh my god, how many more times do I need to hit this thing? Oh. This is, yeah, this is... This has gotten ridiculous. About to run out of ammo, well... Finally. Okay. Man, that was annoying. I already have this sample? Okay. I'm just gonna take it to my freighter camp. Use a shotgun, it won't affect the pelt of legendary animals. Oh. Okay. Fool's Gold? Let's not join it, Brandon, because if we join it, it's gonna be bad. Because we're only 2 people and we're probably gonna go up against a full posse. It's not gonna be good. Mention of Ava. Okay. What is the specific is there a specific section in the game when I should when I call her for that? Like how will I know? Like a gunner. Which shotgun is the best? I would think it's the semi-auto shotgun in Red Dead. You can join the posse, it's open. You know the consequences of low honor Red Dead Redemption 2? Well, Red Dead Online, it really doesn't do anything. In Red Dead Redemption 2, in Red Dead 2, in single player, I know Arthur will react differently in different cutscenes. He'll behave differently. Especially like the Strauss missions are an example of that. I can't stand when kids say they love GTA, but they never played the other GTAs. I'm like, what you know about GTA? Not until you played it. Vice City San Andreas. I played San Andreas since I was 5 because I saw my dad played it. Yeah, and that's the thing is, most of the kids these days, they don't want to play like the old GTA games. They say, oh, you know, it's bad graphics. And they always say, oh, GTA 5 is the best GTA game, but they don't really know much about the older GTAs. I think San Andreas personally is the best map in the series. Thank you, Sweet Pumpkin, for the super chat. But yeah, these, I think a lot of these kids don't appreciate the older games too. GTA 4 is great too, yep. You think game companies are getting lazy by coming out remakes of past games that came out in the PS1 and PS2? I don't necessarily think it's lazy unless it's like a full remake. If it's like a full remake, then that's not being lazy. Like there are some older games that I'd love to get remakes of. But if it's just like an HD release, yeah, you could make the argument that's pretty lazy. Who do I think was worse, Joseph Goebbels or Hermann Göring? They're both really horrible people. You know, Goebbels was the Nazi minister of propaganda, and Göring was the head of the Luftwaffe. You know, Göring killed, you know, hundreds of thousands of civilians with his air force, and Goebbels was responsible for the worst, you know, propaganda and yeah, Goebbels was responsible for the worst propaganda, and basically, Goebbels was seen like as the face of the Nazi regime, basically. Now, both really evil people. Hi, Pro. Out of curiosity, will I do a lore video about the Brotherhood in Saints Row 2? I hope I reach 2 million subscribers. Thank you, Exquisite Vibes. Thanks, dude. I do want to do a lore video on the gangs, but the first gang I would do a lore video on is Vice Kings. It would be Vice Kings, or it would be, Ronin. Man, this storm, yeah. The rainstorms in this game are really good.
We're in business. Well, this is a particularly fine specimen, I must say.
Golden is golden. I thought GTA 4 was cool. Yeah, GTA 4 is my favorite one, too, Sweet Pumpkin.
Supplies are looking healthy right now.
I think, like, a lot of kids look at GTA 4 and they don't see, like, all these crazy military vehicles and they think the game sucks, but it's not the truth about it. When did this happen, D? I got some info for you. This happened in Dublin Airport, England. Homeland Security arrested him over anime pictures on his phone. They might label it as porn. He was 21 years old. What? For anime pictures? I gotta look up this story a little bit later too, but that sounds ridiculous. In Vietnam, GTA Vice City is probably a GTA game a lot of kids back in my remember playing while growing up. Yeah. What did you think of the Vietnamese mafia that was in San Andreas, by the way? Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna happen because those games have a little bit of violence in them, CG games, so I don't think a Spider-Man game would be labeled as for kids. Why do you expand the radar instead of pressing D-pad down consecutively? It's just a nasty habit. That's just what I do. Hey, Pro, I have $1 million in Red Dead Redemption 2 online. How much would that be in real-life money today? $30 million. That's how much that would be. $1 in 1898 is equivalent to around $30 in today's money. So just think about that. That it's $1 is around $30. So if you have like around $1 million, you know, that's going to be, you know, 30 million. Will I ever do Resident Evil 1.2 or 3 for PS1? One day maybe I'll play them like how I did a series of Metal Gear. I might do it. Haven't been much into those games, but I could play those games one day. I did like Operation Raccoon City. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I did actually like it. I like the co-op gameplay in it. Thank you, Jake, for the super chat, and thank you, Samuel Clark. Thanks. I'm playing the remake, Don't Deal. It's coming out soon, in a couple days. When you play Half-Life 1 expansions like Opposing Force and Blue Shift, you have to buy them separately. Okay, yeah, no, I have them all. Because I remember there was a sale on Steam where it was like all the Half-Life DLCs and Half-Life together, and I just bought it then. So I have those, Epic Gamer. But thank you for telling me. Was the Chicago outfit different from other mafias of structure and code? The Chicago outfit didn't go by a lot of the rules that, like, the Sicilian Mafia went by, for example. Like, they did have a lot of non-Italian members in their ranks, but they weren't made men. The North Side Gang was, like, a gang that basically had, you know, every single nationality in it. Am I doing resupply for my trader? Maybe I'll just buy the supplies. Yeah, I could play, do a little bit of the history of the Cold War when I play Delta. I'll look into it, D. Where's the table of crypts?
Impatient, ain't you?
Oh, well, I guess I'll look forward to that too, also, Michael. I don't know if I'll get to it this year, Gunner. If I don't get to it this year, it'll be for the anniversary of D-Day next year. Since Mafia the Old Country came out already, what's your update on the most hated character in the Mafia series? What does Tino remind me of? Tino is just such a cold, you know, evil character. I think he's probably the worst, you know, character in the entire Mafia series, because he just has, like, no emotion whatsoever. He's such a, you know, evil person. And Tino kind of reminds me of the devil. I think that's what he's supposed to represent, because it's that kind of maybe like Luca is that angel, and then, you know, Tino is maybe that devil, and then Luca dies, and then you know what happens with Tino. Terezi starts listening to him, and when's that Mafia lore video coming out this weekend? Yeah, you could make the argument Tino's a psychopath, but the thing about psychopaths is psychopaths usually don't have loyalty to anyone. They only have loyalty to themselves, but he's very loyal to Terezi. So. Is it okay to be ruthless? Can I be positive? You'd have to give me an example of a situation, Suggesta. But generally, being ruthless is not a, you know, not a good thing. It's not a nice thing, and it's... My moonshine is ready for sale? Okay. Let me go and take care of that then. I wish Hell Let Loose had focused on the Korean War. It would have been really cool if they did the Korean War, but I guess Vietnam can work too, but I guess we'll see what that's like. Who were you talking about, Gunner? Like, if I don't be ruthless, people will manipulate me. Well, you don't have to be ruthless to not have people manipulate you. You can be the nicest person in the world and not let people manipulate you. I wouldn't use the term ruthless. I would use the term don't be naive. That's what I would say. Don't be naive. That's a way better trait than being like ruthless, because being nice is always a good thing, but make sure that you're not naive, that you're not so trusting of people.
So, what shall we create? À bientôt.
What's one language you'd love to be fluent in? Spanish. I've studied Spanish for years, and I've been trying to get better at it, but it's my Spanish is still pretty bad. Brandon, I don't have a good place to sell the moonshine at right now. I just have Bert Higgins, but I want to sell with a better seller. That line from The Sopranos when Tony was eating dinner with Chris. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, D. Hey, Pro, I'm not feeling... how are you? I'm not feeling well today. I just had a bad experience in my new engineering and algebra class. What caused the bad experience? Was it your teacher or the students? I will tell you guys, though, even though I'm a very, generally a very nice person, even though I'm a very generally nice person, I do have my limits too, and I can be really rude to people if they basically push my buttons and they're basically causing something bad. But I'll give you two examples of this. One of my rental properties that I own, there's this really big real estate company that basically owns like a huge amount of the houses in my town, and they rent them out. And what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to buy my rental property from me for years, and they constantly call me, like every couple months they constantly call me and they say like, yo, hey, we can give you a cash offer on your, house. Will you willing to sell? I'm like, no, thank you. I hang up on them. A month later, the same company calls back again. And then what they do is they send me letters in the mail, like giving me like a cash offer on the house. I don't want to sell it. And they just keep, harassing me over and over and over again. And they keep using different phone numbers at the same time too. So like, even if I block them, they'll call back like a month later on a different number. And one day they called me. And when they called me, I was not in the mood at that point because I was recording like a Men of Valor part. So when I was playing Men of Valor, they called me in the middle of that. I paused the game and, cut the recording for a second. And so calling me in the middle of that too, I got a bit annoyed. And they basically said to me like, hey, we can give you a cash offer on the house. And you know what I said to them on the phone? I said to them on the phone, okay, I'm willing to sell the house. And then the person on the phone said, great, what's your offer? What do you want for the house? And I said, I want $2 million. That's what I said to them on the phone. Now, the rental property that I own, it's between like $350,000 to $400,000. That's how much the house is worth. And I said that to them on the phone. I said, I'll take $2 million cash. And they say, the person says to me on the phone, are you being serious, sir? And I said, yep, $2 million. You give me $2 million cash and the house is yours. And they just hung up on me. And they have not called me since. And so that was like, that was just me basically like, getting, pissed and annoyed at these people constantly calling me and trying to purchase the house. And I kept telling them, no, 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 I know how much this company can handle, no. But then, I told them that, and they acted like I was being rude to them when I said that I wanted $2 million. Like, the person on the phone acted like I was being rude. But they were constantly calling me and harassing me when I told them several times, no, I don't want to sell the house, I don't want to sell it, and they keep calling me. It's like, you think my answer's going to be different a month later? That's... Pro, when is Mafia 2, you doing original or definitive? I'm gonna probably do definitive because I want to play it on my PlayStation, and also on top of that, I want to see the new version of Tommy Angelo. But I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware that there's like a glitch with Leo Galante in Mafia Definitive Edition, where his like eyes are like really glitched and they're like all over the place. But what I'm gonna do for that part is I'm probably gonna cut that cutscene out and just put in the regular cutscene of Leo with that one. But yeah. What's wrong, Alex Ramirez? Hey, Pro, from a historic view, not political, do you think the nuclear bombings in World War II were justified? Thank you, Random Fist, for the super chat. Here's what I'll basically say about that. This is my answer on that. I'm not going to say that the atomic bombings were a good or a bad thing, but the only thing I'm going to say about it is that if the atomic bombings did not happen, that the war would have gone on for probably 2 more years. Maybe a year and a half, 2 more years, and more people would have died. That's what a lot of people don't know, is people don't know that if the US actually did a mainland invasion of Japan that was Operation Downfall, that would have been larger than the Normandy invasion. That would have been the largest amphibious invasion in history. And what would have happened is over 1 million Americans probably would have died in that invasion, and probably millions of Japanese. So the atomic bombs, I'm not saying it was a good or a bad thing, but the only thing I'm saying is it ended the war quickly, and more people would have died if they had done an invasion. I hear, there are people that say, for example, that like Japan was just ready to surrender. They were gonna surrender, and then the U.S. like dropped the atomic bomb on them. But the reality of that's false. From a historical perspective, I'm telling you right now, that is pure, false. The Japanese were not planning on surrendering anytime soon. The Japanese knew that the war was going bad for them. They knew that. The Japanese were fully aware of that the war was going bad for them. And they were fully aware that the U.S. was probably going to launch an invasion because the U.S. had taken Okinawa. And Okinawa had some really fierce fighting on it. Because Okinawa was actually part of Japan itself. So there was like a lot of resistance. But it was the Battle of Okinawa, which I think that was kind of what really pushed the U.S. to do that at that point, and it pushed Truman to do it too. Because Okinawa, the thing about Okinawa, what people don't know is if you want to see a pretty accurate depiction of what the Battle of Okinawa was, a very historically accurate depiction, is watch the Pacific. If you watch the Pacific, the Okinawa battles, that is a pretty accurate depiction of what the Battle of Okinawa was. It was actually way more brutal than what you see in World at War. Like World at War, like Battle of Okinawa. Battle of Okinawa was way worse than what's actually portrayed in the game. Way worse. But, what the Japanese did was they basically had used civilians as human shields. They had, taken Okinawan civilians and had basically forced a bunch of Okinawan civilians to charge at the U.S., and then they would charge right behind them. They basically used them as shields, even children. And so that's, what the Japanese even did to their own people. The Okinawans, they didn't consider themselves Japanese, but they were still part of Japan, so I would argue that they were, the Japanese should have seen them as their own people, but they weren't. And they basically treated them like garbage. And the same thing would have happened if the U.S. had invaded mainland Japan, as they would have used civilians. Like, civilians were being, civilians were taught to basically sharpen bamboo sticks and charge at American soldiers. And there's actually pictures on Google that you can see of civilians being trained to fight against Americans. And there's even there's this famous picture that you can see of like 2 high school girls in Japan that are being trained on how to use a light machine gun. And so that's what the Japanese were going to do, is they were basically going to fight to the last man, and they were basically going to use every single, civilian, and they were just not going to give up. And, people, I don't know why people say that Japan was right about the surrender. They weren't. The U.S. actually even told Japan that they had an atomic bomb, and they told them that they told them they had a really horrible weapon that can destroy a city, and that the Japanese need to surrender right now. The Japanese did not listen. They ignored it. Another thing that they don't tell you is that the U.S. actually dropped flyers over several Japanese cities from planes before the atomic bombings, and those flyers basically told the people that the city is going to be completely destroyed in the next coming days, and for people to flee, to people to leave the city. And the notes even said that our fight is not with the Japanese people, it is with the Japanese government and the emperor. And but the Japanese would execute people for reading those notes. So the Japanese military would kill people who actually read those notes. So people don't know about stuff like that flyers were dropped and that the U.S. had warned people and told people to generally flee. But the Japanese had told they told their people it's propaganda. Don't flee. Don't run. Stay in the cities. And they made the people stay in the cities. You couldn't even leave the cities even if you wanted to. And also another really horrible thing that the Japanese did that people don't know about is that when it came to like Hiroshima, for example, the Japanese had military bases right in the middle of the city, like right in the middle of the city, and they did that on purpose. They did it on purpose because they knew that American planes were less likely to actually bomb those bases if they had them in the middle of a civilian zone. And on top of that, the Japanese also had anti-air guns on top of hospital roofs. With big, red crosses signaling that they're a hospital. You cannot do something like that. A hospital cannot be armed. Even if you are at war with another country, a hospital under, the Geneva Convention cannot be armed. Like, it cannot. You cannot do that. Hospitals are generally off limits, but the fact that the Japanese militarized their own hospital. So, basically, these are a lot of things that people leave out. People leave out these things when, discussing, like, Japan's surrender. Oh, man, hang on. I'm gonna throw this guy off here. This is getting annoying. Okay. Now let's screw this. And do you know what the biggest proof is? The biggest proof that Japan was not going to surrender. The biggest proof, it's that when the first atomic bomb was actually dropped, the Japanese did not want to surrender after the first atomic bomb was dropped. A lot of people don't know that. They still wanted to keep fighting. It wasn't until the second bomb was dropped and then the Soviet invasion in Manchuria that at that point they decided to surrender. But it was the emperor who had to force the surrender because there was a bunch of Japanese generals that actually tried to lead a coup. They wanted to lead a coup so that they could keep fighting because they did not want to surrender. And the emperor basically had to stop that coup. I think it was the August coup. That's what it was called. And the emperor basically forced a surrender. So that was basically the backstory behind it. So when it comes to things like the atomic bombings, to answer your question in full, it's not, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. The only thing I'm saying is that you're not necessarily told the whole story about Japan. You're not told the whole story about the fact that the Japanese were unwilling to surrender. They were going to fight to the last man. And that a mainland invasion would have killed more people. Way more people. Let me see here. Oh, there's a bunch of super chats I missed while I was discussing that history. Correct me if I'm wrong. Enzo is Arthur Luke. Enzo is Arthur. Luca is Hosea. Tino is Micah. Don Teresi is Dutch. And maybe Cesare is Agent Ross at the end. Maybe you could compare it like that, but I think the Cesare to Agent Ross one's pretty bad. I'm gonna have a video explaining Cesare's entire personality in my lore video. It's gonna be coming out this weekend, but I think you'll really like it, Mr. Jesus. Can a homicide detective wear a cowboy hat and a trench coat? I don't see why not. Homicide detectives typically wear a lot of their own clothes. Like they have regulations on certain things they can and can't wear, but they typically wear their own clothes. They'll typically wear a suit and stuff. And if they're in the countryside, I don't see why not. Like a detective like in Texas or Arizona wearing like a cowboy hat, I don't see why they couldn't wear that. Thank you, Arub, for the super chat. Weird question, but would you ever consider playing any GTA randomizer or chaos mods in the future? Yeah, but if I'm gonna do it, it's for GTA 4. That's my favorite GTA game. I would do it for that one. You know what I really want to do? I want to install the GTA 4 Tsunami mod and just mess around with that. Like that. I've seen so many YouTube videos of the Tsunami mod on GTA 4, and I gotta install it one day and just make a bunch of funny videos on that one. there's a game called Stranger Than Heaven coming next year. It would take place during Imperial Japan in the early of 20th century. Same studios, Yakuza games. Yes, I think I know what you're talking about, Dragon Fury. Isn't it? It's like an open world game. It's also like a fighting game too, right? I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. Thank you, Dragon Fury. Okay, I'll see you, Menace. Take care, dude. Have I seen Hell Let Loose Vietnam? Oh yeah, I've seen it. That really came out of nowhere. Nobody was really expecting them to make a Vietnam game. I'm excited for Fallout Season 2, yeah. There's a reason that the Purple Hearts that are given to wounded soldiers today are the ones that were developed from World War II. You are absolutely right on that, Adrian. So, going back to the Japan thing, though, what people don't know is they don't know that the Purple Heart is basically like a medal that is given to you for being wounded in combat. And so when you get wounded, you get the medal. Now, the US had actually printed millions of these medals, like millions of them, to prepare for the invasion of Japan, because they were expecting millions of casualties. That's how bad they expected the casualties to actually be. And so every single Purple Heart that has been given since the end of World War II is actually a Purple Heart that was actually made for the invasion of Japan. So just think about that. That is how many casualties we were expecting. What did you think of Fascist Croatia? You're talking about the Ustasha. Oh, those guys were brutal. Very, very brutal. The leader of the Ustasha, I know that he fled to Spain. He fled to Spain, and he lived in, and Franco gave him a sanctuary in Spain after the end of World War II. I start a new job on Sunday. I'm excited. Oh, what kind of job is it, Ghost? I'm gonna play the remake of Metal Gear Solid. When I was in my history class in sophomore year, I would get sent out too fast because I would cuss out my classmates or yell at them because they don't exist in my life. What do you mean? Wait, why? What? I've played the Batman Arkham games at friends' houses, but no, I've never really gotten into them. Pro, do you have any advice for showing your face on YouTube for the first time, like when I do my playthrough? Are there any risks or dangers? Are there any risks and dangers? I mean, there's always a little bit of a risk showing your face online, that, some crazy person might recognize you in, public, but I wouldn't, obsess over that, and I wouldn't, let that get to you and, prevent you from, showing your face. That's why some YouTubers, for example, they wear, hoods and, masks and stuff like that. It's because they don't want their face to be, they don't want their face in public, and they're scared about being potentially doxxed and, people leaking their address and stuff like that. And so that's generally what, the backstory by why some YouTubers wear masks. Why was there a war in Kosovo in the late 90s? I don't know much about the Balkan conflict. The only thing I know about there were several wars in the Balkans, several. When Yugoslavia collapsed, basically, I can tell you a little bit about it. But the backstory behind that is that Tito, Yugoslavia was like one communist socialist country that was in, southeastern Europe, and Joseph Broz Tito was the dictator of Yugoslavia. He kept Yugoslavia together for decades, and when he died, there was a power vacuum, and then everybody started fighting over territory. And Yugoslavia was originally a country called Kingdoms of Croats, Serbs and Slovenes. That's what the original name was before it became Yugoslavia. And it was made up of several smaller countries in the Balkans. The reason they made one country together was so that they could prevent themselves from being conquered by like Italy, the Ottomans, or the Austrians, because the Austrians, the Italians, and the Ottomans both occupied them and tried to take them over and colonize them. So they wanted to make their own country where they could be united. But the thing about this is, even though the idea of Yugoslavia was good at first, people started really all these groups being together really started disliking each other over time. These really big nationalist sentiments started picking up, and when Tito died, there's all these nationalists, like from Serbian nationalists, Croatian nationalists, Slovene nationalists, and they all basically said, we want our own country. And they all just started breaking up, making their own countries. But then, one group said, this is part of Serbia. Another group said, no, this is part of Croatia. Another group would say this is part of Bosnia. And, and they basically just all started fighting over the different territories. As for Kosovo, what I know about Kosovo is a country that Serbia, I don't think Serbia recognizes the country. I think Serbia sees Kosovo as their land. I think the majority of people in Kosovo are Albanians. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I know that Serbia does not recognize Kosovo and has massive issues with that, and they see it as a part of their country. How did that... Would I play the Metro Stalker games? I know the new Stalker game is coming out on PlayStation. I know that. I'm willing to play it. I think I should just play the older... Guys, do I need to play the old Stalker games to understand the new Stalker game? Or can I just play the new Stalker game? Like, do I need to play the old ones to understand what's going on in the new one or not? Oh, I'll look in one moment, Minion Dave. Thank you for that super chat, Dragon Fury. You're going to do a law on Jack Thompson? What, you mean a video on Jack Thompson? And thank you, somebody32. Jack Thompson is an idiot. I remember when I was a kid and teenager, that's when his cases were all, going up. And, I think that the judge had taken away his, law license. I think he was disbarred. I don't think he can ever practice law again, because he had so many ridiculous lawsuits. So let me get this straight. The Menendez brothers don't get parole, but Diddy might actually get a lighter sentence than we thought. Got it. That's the thing, is Blinded Eagle, is a lot of states have a lot of states can be really dumb when it comes to their justice. But the Menendez brothers, I remember those guys, those two brothers, psychos, murderers. Do not give those guys parole.
Once I'm loose, I'm gonna bleed you dry. Holy shit!
What game was worse, Modern Warfare 2023 or Saints Row Reboot? Saints Row Reboot, yeah. At least Modern Warfare 2023 had some fun moments to it, where Saints Row Reboot was just annoying. I'll look into it after the stream, D. Jack Thompson's Rockstar's main antagonist.
hell on.
There was a student in my class that I hated because he was very annoying and rude. He was rude to me back. Then I made myself do that. Well, did the teacher do anything to stop him being rude to you? But if there's a student in your class that's constantly being rude to you and giving you an attitude, and the teacher does nothing to stop it, I don't really blame you for cursing out that kid. If the teacher is not doing anything about it.
God damn it, not me again.
Siphon Filter 3, yes, I still gotta play that one. I did Siphon Filter 1 and 2, but I haven't done the third one yet.
No, I ain't want no part of that. This is bad.
The most respectful villain, who it is?
Well, you'll get the going rate.
I don't know. And I can't really think of one right now at the moment. Who do I think Isabella's baby is? It might just be a new character. I think Ghost of Yote will be way better than Assassin's Creed Shadows. What retail store did you work at? Was it Target? Thank you, Soviet Man, for the super chat. I don't really want to get into that. It was a pretty large chain, but it was not a fun place to work. It was one of the worst companies in the country. Siphon Filter 3 shows corruption within the ATF. Yes, I remember that. It was not just the ATF. It shows corruption in the NSA. There's corrupt ATF agents, corrupt NSA agents. But yeah, I remember that. And it also corrupt people in the federal government as well. Like, the main antagonists in Siphon Filter 3 are this, corrupt government agency. One day I might discuss it, Soviet Man. I don't know much more about their case. I just know they were killers, Blinded Eagle. Well, about the Menendez brothers. I'm really excited for Hell Let Loose Vietnam. No, I haven't, Snake. Hey, I know the movie Watchmen, but I've never read the comics. I passed your question? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Let me see. QC. Did my old man voice Patrick Aiden's grandfather? What? Who were you talking about? I'm doing a video first on Cesare, and then I want to do one on Leo Galante. I do get paranoid when thinking about the doxing thing, plus, although I'm not bothered about being cussed or mocked, I'm kind of worried about it at the same time. Well, I mean, I was a little nervous at first to show my face, but I just got used to it over time. Oh, he's talking about the old man, Aiden Pierce, when he used it for the scammers. Oh, that one. Was it, here. Do my old man voice for, that one. So basically, I would, I would piss off scammers. Like, a year ago, I made some funny videos where I called up scammers and I pissed them off, and I pretended to be an old man, and the scammers actually fell for it, but I would do it like this. Hello, my name is Alex Mason. I fought in the Cuban Missile Crisis. I protected Florida from communism. Whenever I did that, that voice, like, people would always think that I was an old man. And it worked. It did work. A lot of scammers were fooled. They thought that I was an old man. But yeah, I could do a bunch of accents pretty well. I did convince a scammer that I was from Belarus once. I did an Eastern European accent, and the scammer was like fully convinced that I was from Belarus. Wasn't Alex Mason from Call of Duty? Yes. But that's my joke that I always tell scammers when I pretend to be an old man. I always tell scammers I fought in the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's what I tell scammers, and they're so stupid they don't even realize that I'm trolling, because there was no war in the Cuban Missile Crisis, but there was no battles during that. Thank you, JVK. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. Thanks, dude. Well, the scammers are just so greedy. They're so obsessed with taking your money that they're not even gonna process what you say to them a lot of times. Yeah, Hell Let Loose. I gotta do streams on it too. Yeah, Minion. That is sad there. But when I do my Black Ops 2 playthrough, I want to do it where Mason survives. When is the Cesare lore video coming out this weekend? Just give me a couple days. It'll be out this weekend. I thought you were posting Mafia 2 content. I am. Well, final part of Metal Gear Solid 2, and then Mafia 2. Who was the worst communist during World War II? Well, you're talking about the worst communist official during that time. It would be Stalin. What are my 4 perk cards? Let me show you. What is it? Abilities, right? It's under this. Okay. Deadeye, Focus Fire. While Deadeye is active, you and your team members deal a lot of damage. If more than one member of your team has this ability active, the effects do not stack. Winning Streak. Each consecutive shot on the same target does much more damage than the last. Damage bonus ends if the target is not shot for 10 seconds. Second passive. As you get closer to death, you start to do much more damage. That one. And never without one, your hat will block one headshot and then fall off. Okay. No, Berserk, or no, I don't think so. I think Game of the Year this year is going to be Mafia the Old Country or Ghost of Yotei for me. I never finished it though, Adrian. I will finish it coming up after Mafia 2. What is it again, Eamon? Oh yeah, GTA 4 has some pretty difficult combat, but I do appreciate that GTA 4 also shows how much health the enemies have. I do appreciate that, where GTA 5 doesn't have that at all. Do I think Hitler died or faked his death and went to Argentina? No. Or I think Hitler died in Berlin. I think that if the thing is, that's what the Allies fought. The Allies fought that Hitler escaped when they took Berlin. They thought that Hitler escaped, and they actually launched investigations, and those investigations concluded that he was dead. That's what the investigations concluded. And here's the thing: is even a country like Argentina wouldn't hide Hitler. The reason they wouldn't is because every single country on the planet would invade Argentina if Argentina was hiding him. Do you think the election results of the general election in Nicaragua in 1980 was authentic? Many countries deemed it to be legitimate, except the U.S. Which one was that? Was that the one where the Sandinistas won? Is that one? The elections in Nicaragua are not fair today. Nicaragua is pretty much a socialist dictatorship. I think the bounty for Hitler would probably be even more if he was actually on the run. It'd probably be hundreds of millions of dollars.
You know, we might need some help again.
Oh, Pol Pot was a
I
psycho.
do not have the
Most
time
evil
to go
dictator in
over
Southeast
this.
Asia.
I'm busy.
Pol Pot makes Ho Chi Minh look like a nice guy.
But take this note, and it'll tell you what you got to do. So go
What do we
on.
think if we got an Assassin's Creed game set in a period in early 1900s Sicily, and we are
Go ahead.
as Ezio's descendant? I don't think that would really work, because Ezio's descendants, they went to different countries like France and such. So I wonder how his how that happened, but his descendants, chances are, probably are not in Sicily. Maybe they're in a different country. Well, judging by what the Sandinistas did afterwards, possibly not. Maybe it was a legitimate election, but then after, when they took power, they had pretty much rigged the country. I think Hugo Chavez was elected legitimately in Venezuela, and then when he came to power, he just basically rigged everything afterwards, and just it was just complete corruption, and the socialists would just rig everything in Venezuela. There's a saying that when you vote socialists into power, that you can't vote them out. There's like a saying on that. Look at Nicaragua, look at Venezuela, look at basically what happened.
¿Qué fue eso? ¿Hay alguien?
Oh crap. Venezuela is imperialist, especially Guyana. Yep. But the thing about the thing about socialists, you know what the thing about them is, that socialists, you know what their favorite word is? Their favorite word is imperialist. That's what the favorite word socialists use, because socialists and communists, they will call every single person they don't like an imperialist. Imperialist, blah 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 this, imperialist, over and over again. Like, it's like, that is their most overused word. Like, they say that so much all the time. The ironic thing about that is, in their eyes, they can't be imperialist in their eyes. In their eyes, everybody's an imperialist, but they cannot be imperialist. Even when they do clearly imperialist things, even when they invade other countries, even when they ruin the sovereignty of other countries, interfere in other countries' affairs, for them, they can't be imperialists. Only capitalists can be imperialists. So that's all I'll say about socialists, is it's just, and communists, massive hypocrisy. Everybody's an imperialist except them. You know what the really ironic thing, what I'll tell you guys, when the Soviet Union invaded Hungary, and they invaded Czechoslovakia, when they invaded Hungary in 1956, and they invaded Czechoslovakia in 1968, you know what the Soviets said? They said that the reason that they invaded Hungary and Czechoslovakia was to protect those countries from imperialism. How ironic is that? Let's just think about that. The Soviets claimed to have invaded those countries to protect them from imperialism. That is literally the one of the stupidest things I think I've heard. Bro, I'm hopping off. Got stuff to do in the morning. See you on your second monthly member stream tomorrow. No, take care. I'll see you, Raccoon. Take care. Have a good night, dude. Have a great weekend.
I'll shoot your stones off. To my gun in your cabeza.
I had a goddamn plan. Gotcha. Lord Saito when he gets discovered by Atsu. I have a plan. Atsu's a good one. I don't really know much about them. Nobody. I don't really know much about them. What's my favorite book about World War I and World War II? The best book about World War I would be All Quiet on the Western Front. World War II, I don't know, I'd have to think about that one. There aren't really many World War II books that I read. I could tell you more about movies, though, but... Favorite World War I video game? Battlefield 1. Come on. Basically, Adrian. Izonzo was a great one too, but I think Battlefield 1 was the best one. Izonzo is more historically accurate, Battlefield 1 is just more fun. Any of the GTA games are open world games. Did you ever go on a tank rampage in the game? Because tank rampages are like staple for any open world sandbox game. Yeah, all the GTA games. I've always gone on a tank rampage in them. If I have time, amen. There's a lot of games I gotta get to this year. Pretty funny that Ray Curto was seen as a respected mobster when he was a rat for most of The Sopranos. Yeah, and not only him, Jimmy Petrillo was also, everybody liked him, but he was also a rat. Wait, what's wrong, JBK? There's this, I want to do Red Dead Redemption 2 also, but I just have to, there's a lot of games that I just have to get to. I'm going to be doing Mafia 2, you know, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Mafia 3, Ghost of Yote, Battlefield 6, and Black Ops 2, and then Black Ops 7 this year, so I gotta get through all those games this year still. I probably won't play Stalker on release, though, Dragon. I'm gonna play it one day, but I could probably create some really good cosplay for a Stalker playthrough, like some tactical stuff. Wear some, like, old Soviet military gear and probably, like, play Stalker on that. That would probably be good. My Teacher Never Heard of Nobody. That's, Sopranos. I remember that one, too. What do I think about Raul Castro, Fidel Castro's brother, scumbag, also? He's gonna pass away one day. He's getting really old, too. Isn't, like, Kona, like, a horror game in a way, too? It's like a detective game, it's like a horror game. I know it's in Canada, and it's like a snowy game, but... Did I hear about Judge Frank Caprillo's passing? Yes, I did. It's like... We lost a really good man. Like, about Judge Frank Caprillo, he was, like, a really, really nice guy. He was, like, you know, that elderly judge that always, like, helped people out, was always very friendly. He was always really nice to children when children were in court with their parents. Like, he was just a good human being overall. Like, he had a really good heart, but he was sick. He had pancreatic cancer, and it's, you know, horrible. That was, that's the same thing that, you know, it killed my uncle as well. My uncle died from pancreatic cancer. It's a really horrible, horrible thing to have. Did you know that Fidel Castro's grandson is a massive playboy? He partied a lot in Florida and also owns some fancy cars, while the rest of Cuba is still in poverty. I didn't know about that, but I'm not surprised. You know, that's communists are hypocrites. I remember that Castro has like his own his own private yacht, if I remember correctly, on that too. Well, thank you, April. Is there like multiple endings to that game, Bakken? But I could play Kona one day. I also gotta play Firewatch. That's the game I gotta play one day too. Firewatch. People told me to play that one too. Tino is more evil than Teresi. Yeah, but I would also argue at the end of the day that Tino is taking orders from Teresi. Are those games made by the same people, Firewatch and Kona? But I'll look into them too. Yeah. Firewatch is about firefighter. Firewatch is it's you're playing as like this guy like works in like a forest, and you're in one of those like towers that like supposed to spot like wildfires, but like some really creepy things start happening in the story. That's and you start investigating it. It's like an investigation game.
Are you out of your...
In this game, you cannot blind fire. I forgot about that. In Red Dead Redemption 1, you can blind fire. In this one, you can't.
Just die! What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Berserker.
It's all over, bastard!
Did I know that the current General Secretary of the Vietnamese Communist Party eats golden steaks? A few years ago in Paris, I think back when he was still the Minister of Public Security. And let me guess, there was no consequences in Vietnam about him doing that, right? That's the thing is, communists can live like rich people, and they can be imperialists, but they're never going to be rich, and they're never going to be imperialist in their eyes.
I want to hear you beg, little dog.
Oh, crap. What were the majority of comments saying, Gunner?
This is how you die!
Oh, I didn't... I'll look into them, Buck, and they're both on PlayStation, I know that. So, we hating on Red Dead Redemption 2 just because you can't blind fire? No, I'm not saying it's a bad game at all. It's kind of sucks because you could blind fire Red Dead Redemption 1, but you can't do it in 2. That's... I got an idea for you. Is, TS really the GOAT of LEGO IP? Abomination takes over Grand Central Station, LEGO, Marvel superheroes. Just think about cosplay variety, Marvel, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and so on. What's is TS really the GOAT, or what's TS? I'm sorry, I'm confused, Blinded Eagle. TS means this. Oh. Is this really the GOAT of the LEGO IP? Oh. Oh, I don't know a lot of this slang then.
Venga ya.
Are you gonna do Reservoir Dogs PS2? I gotta watch the movie first. The movie first. Is the game good? But I gotta watch the movie. Steve Buscemi, I know, is in it. What do you think about communists talking about mass killings, deportations, or genocide committed by them, then either say it didn't happen or it happened, then the people who died deserved it? That's... if anybody who's justifying something like that is an absolute piece of crap. But communists will do this all the time, is they'll deny their, horrible atrocities. It's the same thing with fascists. Fascists will also deny their horrible atrocities. This happens where people from a specific ideology cannot admit that that ideology had done those horrible things, and so they'll make excuses. They'll come up with like BS stories.
In there. Careful. This one bites. Catch.
Thank you, Blinded Eagle. I couldn't fit it in the super chat. That's what I did. But if you're gonna play a Lego game first, then that's the best place to start. Absolute nostalgia trip. I'll play it. Okay, let me I missed the super chat. Who did I miss also? Oh, I'm sorry, Alien. Friend's taking college classes, and his elective is history of rock and roll, I believe. He says it's lame. I listen to classic rock. I don't think so. I actually took a class like that in high school, though. It was history of rock, rap, and hip hop. That's I think what the class was called. Oh, is there a collectible here? But no, I mean, I think that, like, learning about... If he wants to be a musician, I don't think a class like that would be necessarily a waste. And it's always good to learn some history. Thank you, Alien, for the super chat. Pretty much, but here's the thing is every single communist regime on this planet has committed atrocities. Every single one. There is not a single communist regime that has not committed an atrocity. The only difference is that some have committed much worse atrocities than others. Like, Vietnam, for example, committed atrocities, but Cambodia committed much worse ones. So the Cambodians were much more brutal than the Vietnamese communists, but the Vietnamese communists still did bad things. And the Chinese communists were worse than the Vietnamese communists. But there was, literally every communist regime has committed atrocities. And not only is it, and to be fair, it's not just communist regimes, it's pretty much every regime. Every regime in history has committed atrocities. Some worse than others, but, every regime has committed it. The only dictator that I can think of that I don't think has committed any kind of atrocities is, I think it was Lee Kuan Yew. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he, unless I'm making a mistake, I don't think he's actually done anything, gruesome. but it was he was like the only dictator that I can think of that like that people generally liked and didn't do anything horrible. But he wasn't a communist. He was very much a capitalist. But it was but yeah, pretty much every dictator on this planet has done some kind of atrocity. Pro, is it illegal in Poland to deny the Cotton Massacre or claiming that the Nazis were the perpetrators? In Poland, it is illegal to deny both communist and Nazi atrocities. So if somebody tries to deny the Holocaust, they will get arrested in Poland. If somebody tries to deny, like, Stalin's mass killings in Poland, they'll get arrested. The Soviet flag is illegal in Poland. The Nazi flag is illegal in Poland. And the Bandera flag, the Ukrainian fascist flag, that's also illegal in Poland. Stalin did commit ethnic cleansings, which was terrible. He didn't commit genocide, though, unless you count killings, mass amounts of Nazis as genocide. Do you know what the deportation of Tatars was from Crimea? Do you know what that was? That is pretty much a genocide, what Stalin did there. Stalin, the Holodomor, could also be argued that that was a genocide as well. Stalin did target ethnic groups in the Soviet Union. No way, pros. I'm watching you stream. I found out that Kona also has a sequel called Kona 2, Broom, that was released in October 2023. Also, the company's Ravenscourt made Kona in conjunction with Parable. I will add Kona and Firewatch to my wish list. I'll add it to my wish list. Maybe I could play it on Halloween. Maybe I could do it on Halloween. Maybe I could do that. They're both creepy games. Which game would be better for Halloween, Kona or Firewatch? Which one's more creepy? But maybe I could do it for Halloween if I have time. I just have to get through a lot of games. Hi, Pro. Hope your day is great. Hope you play Call of Juarez, The Cartel. It may be bad, but it's not as bad compared to Mind's Eye and Cringe Row. Yeah, that I could play that. I gotta play the old games first. Okay, so about the deportation of Tatars. I'm a half Tatar, half Tatar, half Slav. My father is a Tatar. My mother is Slavic. But the Tatars, they're a Central Asian people that came into Eastern Europe from Central Asia hundreds of years ago. They came like in the 14th and 15th centuries. But anyways, what a lot of people don't know, Crimea, that really disputed territory between Ukraine and Russia, that territory is historically not Russian, but it's historically not Ukrainian either. When you really think about it, neither, Ukraine or Russia have a historical claim to the land. Do you know who has the biggest claim to the land? Is the Tatars. The Tatars were actually the majority of the population on that peninsula at one point. And not only that, they also had their own country. So they had their own independent country for 300 years. It was called the Crimean Khanate, I think, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But what basically happened is it was an ally of the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottomans were allies and with the Crimeans. And the Ottomans had actually fought against the Russians in a war. And when the war ended, the Russian Empire and the Ottomans signed a peace treaty where they basically said that Crimea was to stay as a neutral, independent country, and that neither Russia or the Ottomans will try to conquer it. Russia actually broke that treaty within 3 years, and they conquered Crimea, and they annexed it. And for hundreds of years, the majority of the population on Crimea were not Slavs. They weren't Ukrainians, they weren't Russians, they were actually Tatars. The reason that Tatars are not the majority of the population anymore on Crimea is because in the 1940s, it started in 1944, Stalin and his NKVD, that was Stalin's secret police, they went into Crimea and they forcibly deported the entire Tatar population. And Tatars were well over 70-80% of the population at that point. Slavs were actually the minority in there. And so Stalin deported between 200 to 300,000 Tatars to gulags in Siberia, to work camps in Siberia. They had to actually march from Crimea to Siberia. A lot of them actually died along the route. Over 100,000 Tatars died during that. And even the one of the best Soviet fighter pilots during World War II is a Tatar, and his family actually got threatened with deportation. So even Soviet war heroes, their families weren't even spared from that. That were Tatars. And so people say Stalin didn't target people based on race. He very much did. You can see what he did to the Tatars. That was pretty much ethnic killings. It was genocide against the Tatars. And then what did Stalin do afterwards when he forcibly deported the Tatars off of their land? He basically gave that all of the homes and towns to Russians that had lived on that area, and then he had forcibly settled Russians on that peninsula. And then what happened was when Khrushchev took power after Stalin's death, he gave Crimea to the Ukrainian SSR, which was part of the Soviet Union at that time. So people don't know that. People don't know that the person that has the most claim to Crimea, it's not the Russians, it's not the Ukrainians, it's the Tatars. They are the people that actually have the most amount of claim to Crimea. But it's that's why I think it's kind of funny when I hear, for example, people saying that Crimea was like historically Russian land, when literally the Russians just forcibly deported the original native population off the land. Hey there, Pro. Enjoy your recent video on the UK's government's online safety acts. They are seriously out of their mind right now. Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking. And with the economy that was so Stalin was racist. Oh, Stalin was very much a racist. Stalin hated Tatars, but Stalin also really did not like Jewish people. He really hated Jews. Stalin actually thought that there was a Jewish plot out to kill him. He thought that Jewish doctors were plotting to poison him, and he was he had Jewish doctors constantly arrested and executed. Yes, I know about that, Gunner. What do I think of Mike Torino? He bad but honorable. That's what I would put him at. What's the importance of the Yalta Conference? It was discussing how Germany would be divided at the end of World War II. You can look up Stalin had Jewish doctors arrested and executed. He did that. Also, I'll tell you guys a really disturbing story about Stalin. Just to understand how evil of a person Stalin is. Stalin had this guy in his inner circle called Beria, Lavrentiy Beria. And Beria was the worst person in Stalin's regime besides Stalin himself. About Beria, Beria was like a top communist official. What Beria would do is Beria would actually drive around Moscow in his limo. And, ironic, a communist driving around a limo. But he would drive around Moscow in his limo. And what he would do is he would find random Russian women, and he would basically force them into his limo. And what he would do is he would then rape them. And after he raped them, what he would do is he would drop them off home. And when he dropped them off home, he would give them a bouquet of flowers. And if the women took the flowers, that was a sign of consent for him, and he would let them go. But if they refused to take the flowers, he would send them to a gulag where they would be worked to death and die. And he did this to numerous women, and he murdered numerous women while raping them. There was a couple women that he actually did kill while raping. And Stalin's daughter actually went over to Beria's house one day. I don't know why she was there, but when Stalin found out about it, Stalin panicked, called up Beria on the phone, and he said to Beria, "Don't touch my daughter or you will regret it." Now, Stalin knew that Beria was kidnapping women, raping them, and killing them, did nothing whatsoever to stop it, nothing. When his daughter was at Beria's house, that was a different story. Then that's the point when Stalin basically told him, "Don't do anything." But Stalin didn't even have Beria arrested or anything. So Beria didn't touch Stalin's daughter, but then Beria kept kidnapping women, raping them, and killing them, and Stalin did nothing about it because he was one of the most loyal people to Stalin. Because that guy was loyal to Stalin, Stalin did nothing about it. If you want to know what happened to Beria, Beria tried to take power after Stalin died, but Zhukov actually had Beria arrested and executed. So Beria actually got shot. And do you know what the ironic thing about Beria is? When Beria got executed, do you know what he was screaming? He was screaming, "You can't do this. I deserve a trial. I deserve a fair trial." That's what he kept saying when he got executed. So he got executed without a trial. How ironic is that? Because that guy did not give anybody else a trial. All the people that he killed, all the people that he sent to gulags, all the people he sent to slave labor camps, never got a trial. And then this guy himself is just crying for a fair trial. He didn't get it. and he got executed. So that's the type of evil person that Stalin is. Stalin is just a horrible person. There was a time when Stalin was Stalin had told his bodyguards to never come into my office. Never come into my office without my permission. And what happened was, one day, Stalin's bodyguards, or Stalin was screaming. He was screaming, "Help, help, help." His bodyguards actually came into the office to see what was going on. And Stalin basically said, "I told you to never come in here." And then he said that was a test. And he had both of his bodyguards executed for that. That's the type of person that Stalin was. So it was like, this was like a very, cruel, despicable, evil person. Horrible, horrible person. Oh, Stalin was definitely an extremely paranoid person. Very, very, very paranoid. The only thing I'll say about Stalin is that Stalin admitted when he messed up with his at the start of the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union got invaded by Germany, Stalin did admit that he messed up, that he did mess up by purging a lot of these generals, and he stopped interfering in his generals' affairs, and he let his generals plan. So Stalin generally let the Soviet generals plan during World War II. He would demand updates, but he wouldn't just like barge into the planning room and like tell Zhukov what to do exactly. He wouldn't do stuff like that. He let his generals, do as they wanted. But Hitler, on the other hand, Hitler was a way bigger narcissist than Stalin was. Hitler basically believed that he was a military genius, and he believed that he was never wrong. And so Hitler, what he would constantly do is constantly go in the boardroom where all the generals were planning. He would tell the generals, this is how you have to do it, this, this, this. Even if it was stupid orders, the generals had to follow it. And so that was it, is that Stalin let his generals freely plan, but Hitler, on the other hand, Hitler would constantly interfere and tell his generals what they can and can't do. How did he die? Well, Stalin had the most ironic and probably one of the most his death was pure karma. How Stalin died is Stalin had a stroke, and he collapsed in his office and was having a violent stroke. And the two guards that were actually outside his office actually heard that when he was having that stroke, and they considered actually going into the office, but then the other guard actually told him, you remember what happened to the other guards? They got executed. Do you want to get us killed? We're not going in there. And so what the guards did not go into Stalin's office for like 20 hours, and after 20 hours, Stalin died. So Stalin was still alive, just suffering from the stroke, and then he died. Just laying there for like hours and hours and hours, because the bodyguards were too scared to actually go in. So when I say that's karma right there. Absolute karma. Basically what happened to Stalin, the first set of bodyguards got executed because he did a stupid thing, testing them, telling them, screaming for help, and then he had them executed. And then the second bodyguards didn't want to come in when he was actually needed help, and because of that, he died. So that's, so we don't know who those guards are, or what their names are, but those two guards that refused to help Stalin when he was having a stroke, those guys saved hundreds of thousands of people, when you think about that. Those are some of the biggest heroes in history, and we'll never know their names. Saved hundreds of thousands of lives, because if Stalin lived for a couple more years, he would have killed, hundreds of thousands of more people. So that's what I'll say about that, is, those guards basically saved hundreds of thousands of people. Well, Stalin was a bank robber when he was younger. He robbed banks, but he robbed it for the Bolsheviks mostly, to fund the Bolsheviks. But yes, he was a bank robber. Ironically, Stalin wanted to be a priest at one point. Can you believe that? He wanted to be a priest when he was a child. That's what it's so creepy. What communist scared me the most? Probably Pol Pot. Pol Pot probably. I think Pol Pot is probably the scariest, guy. Which Russian emperor would you say is Russia's best? Peter the Great modernized Russia and helped early industry in Russia, but he was very brutal. No, they have indeed. They never will. Oh yeah, Gunner, it definitely played a role. Pol Pot is what happens when you let a serial killer be in charge of a country. Yeah. For people that don't know who Pol Pot was, he was a dictator of Cambodia. Pol Pot, what he did was, if you spoke a second language, you would get executed. So if you knew how to speak a second language, you were considered an elitist. You were considered an elitist member of society, and you were executed. If you were overweight, if you were or I shouldn't even say overweight, if you were well fed, you would get executed because you were seen as potentially stealing food from the working class. So if you were like well fed, your body looked in good condition, you were executed. You were executed for speaking a second language. You were executed for being well fed. You were executed if you were late to work. If you were late to work, you'd be executed because you were accused of betraying the working class. So if you late to work, you'd be executed. Well fed, you'd be executed. If you spoke a second language, you'd be executed. If you were a businessman, you'd be executed. If you were a lawyer, you'd be executed. And Pol Pot kept doing this, just kept mass murdering people, kept executing them. Pol Pot killed, I think, 2 million of his own people, 2 million. And so there was just the most ridiculous things that people would get executed for. Stalin killed, more people than Pol Pot, but even Stalin didn't do something like that. He didn't execute people for speaking a second language. That's just ridiculous. I've never heard about something like that, like executing somebody for speaking a second language. So I think Pol Pot is probably the scariest communist dictator that I can think of. Well, according to Pol Pot, there was no rich people. All rich people would be killed. Yeah, I know a little bit about that minion, Dave. I know that there was a landmine that a Thai soldier stepped on, and it was a Cambodian mine, and then Thailand got pissed off and sent fighter jets into Cambodia. What's your opinion on Korean reunification? And do you think it will happen in our lifetime? And also, do we know what ended up happening to the American soldier who fled there to North Korea? He was returned like last year. He's facing charges. Here's what I'll tell you. North and South Korea will never be united. It's never gonna happen. It never will be. The only thing that might change in North Korea is like a future leader of North Korea might be less brutal, might be less cruel, than like the current regime. But it's not going to happen where they're ever going to be united into one country. It's not going to. I know people compare like East Germany and West Germany, and they basically never thought that West Germany, East Germany would unite. But there's a very big difference between East Germany and West Germany. And you know what the very big difference is? Here's the difference. The majority of people that lived in East Germany, they knew that life was better in West Germany. They knew that. And not only did they know that, they could see it. Like people from East Berlin, for example, they could see how much nicer the buildings were in West Berlin. They could see how much nicer people dressed, just looking from their apartment windows. So they knew that like life in West Germany was better. The majority of North Koreans do not know that life is better in South Korea. They actually think the South Koreans are the ones who are really poor. That's what they think. And on top of that, East Germans were not starving. So life in East Germany was not easy. It was not, life in West Germany was way better, but the East Germans were not starving. The East Germans generally had food. So in East Germany, your life wasn't good, but you had a meal. You had something to eat. In North Korea, people don't have generally a lot to eat. People go starving all the time in North Korea. And the reason that this is important is because the ideology of the countries are just so much different. People in North Korea do not know much about South Korea. They think that South Korea is like a colony of America. They basically think that it's like a puppet of America. They call it the puppet nation. And they're so brainwashed in their ideology, they see their leader as like a god, basically. When you really think about it, North Korea is like Imperial Japan. You know how Imperial Japan used to see the emperor as a god and they were willing to die for him? North Korea is basically like that in a modern state. The only difference between North Korea and Imperial Japan is that North Korea's economy is a lot less free, where Japan was more capitalistic. And on top of that, the Japanese were not starving, at least until the end of the war. But the North Koreans are. So that's what I'll say about that. And also I'll tell you this: a huge amount of South Koreans do not want to unify with North Korea. The reason that a lot of South Koreans don't want to unify with North Korea is because the culture and society is just so much different. They might speak the same language, they might have a little few different dialects, but the culture and the society is just so much different. North Korea is a completely collectivist society, all about the group, where the government the government gives you rations. You take the ration card and you get your food that way. South Korea, you go shopping on your own. You go to the store, you make money, you buy your groceries. That's what North Korean refugees, when they actually come to South Korea, they don't know how to shop. They don't know how to do that. And a lot of South Koreans have been bullied them. They bully them and they make fun of them that they don't know how to shop. But the thing is, in their country, they don't shop. There's no such thing as shopping. The government, you go to the government store, you give them a ration card, and the government gives you how much, meat or milk that you're allowed to have in like a week. That's basically how it is. So there's no such thing as like in North Korea where, you go and, you buy stuff off the shelf like you do in South Korea. It's a very, collectivist society, very communist in nature. And what I was going to say about this is that a huge amount of South Koreans don't want to unify with North Korea, not just because of the cultural divide, but also because of the poverty divide. Because think about this. Imagine if North and South Korea united right now, like tomorrow. Just imagine that. North Korean government collapses, North and South Korea unify into one country, right? Do you know what would happen? When the majority of North Koreans realize how much better life is in South Korea, they will all come to South Korea. And what will happen is North Korea has like a population of around like 25 million people, where South Korea, I think it's like 40 or 50 million. And so what would happen is you would have probably at least 10 million North Korean refugees that would come immediately down into South Korea. And those North Korean refugees don't even make 5% of what an average South Korean makes. And so you have 10 million extremely poor people coming into your country, into South Korea, which is very, very rich. So you have 10 million really poor people coming into a country that's very, very rich. You know what that's going to do to the South Korean economy? That will cause a lot of problems. Inflation, wages would go down. It would be really bad for the South Korean economy. And so that's why a lot of South Koreans don't want to unify with North Korea, because North Korea is so poor, and if they were in one country, all the North Koreans would basically just come down to South Korea and it would just destroy their economy. That's pretty much what would happen. So it's not, and I don't think that that's cruel, saying stuff like that, because that's what would happen. If you have millions of people coming into, South Korea, it would destroy people's wages, and it would cause massive economic problems. You have so many poor people coming into South Korea all of a sudden, it would cause massive amounts of problems. So that's basically what that would happen. And somebody needs to populate North Korea at the same time, too. So everybody comes from North Korea to South Korea. What's going to happen to the remaining land in North Korea, too? It's going to take the government, how many, decades. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if 50 years later, the government, even in North Korea, is still extremely poor, even if it was part of South Korea, even 50 years later. That's how poor North Korea is. So that basically is, it's not, it's not going to happen. North and South Korea are never going to unify. If anything, North Korea might become more of a democratic country in the future. It might have like a much less psycho government. That might happen, but they're still going to stay as independent countries. They're never going to unify together. If anything, what might happen in North Korea one day is North Korea might basically become more like China or Vietnam. That's what basically might happen to it. It's still going to be like a one-party state where like the Workers' Party of North Korea is going to be the only party that's going to be in charge, but it's going to be more of a free market society like Vietnam and China, where it's, people are going to be able to make money, travel more freely and stuff like that, but it's still going to be a regime. It's not going to be as brutal, but it's still going to be a regime. So that's what might happen, is it might become more like North Korea and Vietnam, or Vietnam and China, or Laos, but it's not going to ever become unified with South Korea in a country. Isn't Eastern Germany still poorer than Western Germany? Yes, it is. And a lot of Eastern Germans, they feel very disconnected from West Germany. They feel like West Germany does not care about them today, even. So there is still like economic problems between the two countries, or between the two lands, I should say. What's the plan then when it comes to North and South Korea? There is no plan. Just keep the status quo. That is pretty much what it is and think about this. I mean, just think about what I said, guys. If you were a South Korean, if you were living in South Korea, would you want South Korea to unify with North Korea? I mean, you want the North Korean regime to go, obviously. Everybody wants it to go. But would you want, like, South Korea to unify with North Korea and then, like, 10 million really poor people come into your country? Like, imagine what that would do to the economy. So, when you think about it from the perspective of the South Koreans, that's why a lot of South Koreans don't want to unify with North Korea, because of what it would do to their economy. Like, unifying with a country like North Korea, it would damage their economy severely. Because at least East Germany was poorer than West Germany, but like I said, people were not starving. People were not dying on the streets of hunger. Where North Korea, people are dying on the streets of hunger. Trying to unify like a really rich country like South Korea with a really poor country like North Korea, that could backfire really badly. had a group member that was still did nothing. If you have a group member that does nothing, go to the teacher. It's not considered snitching because you should not have to pick up their work. Oh, Battlefield Hardline, definitely. It's a crime game. I definitely want to play that one day. Do Austrians consider themselves separate from Germans, Pro? Today, yes. During World War II, no. The majority of Austrians consider themselves Germans during World War II. But today, majority of Austrians consider themselves Austrians. What do I think of Remy Duval from Mafia 3? Isn't that the really racist KKK guy in Mafia 3? He had massive scumbag. A lot of the characters in Mafia 3 are just some really despicable people. No, I don't know about the next Dark Pictures game. Okay, I guess I'll probably be wrapping up this stream here, guys. I'll answer like one or a few more comments before I go here. If anyone could survive a 6-star wanted level, it's Agent 47. I think that Agent 47 could have like the CIA, the FSB after him, and MI6. I think he would still survive. So like, imagine having all the top secret government agencies in the world going after him, and I think he would still get out of it. Who's that, Bubba? I'll play Mafia 3 after Mafia 2. Okay, guys, but I guess I will be going here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and we'll do a GTA stream on Sunday. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.